Hey there, internets. This is Kyle with another edition of the My Business Launch Secrets YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing well today. Today I just want to give a brief update to say that I think I want to continue on the path I was, and I did make some progress today on some of the building blocks, I guess you could say, I needed for my podcast, and so pretty happy with how that turned out, and I'm basically ready to get started editing a couple videos. I mean, the other piece I still need to do is I need to record one that's a little bit more specific to be the first podcast, because I think it would be worth doing a little bit more of a introductory podcast as opposed to the ones I've done, which are more my generic. I could, use them at any point because they're not time referenced or whatever to anything in particular. So that's where we're at today. Apologize for the random new setup here, but as I'm trying to get set up more in my other office downstairs, where I've been recording from the past couple of videos, which is ultimately where I plan to kind of move all my office to, but because that room is not completed in terms of some rehab work I'm doing in there, construction and whatnot, I don't really want to move everything in there yet, because I know I'm going to have to just pull it all out at some point, because I gotta do the floors and other stuff I know I need to pull everything out. So I'm sort of in a slight limbo between having enough down there so I can record there because it is a quiet space, and I do have the fancy lights and all that set up, so that works out. And the newer microphone that I bought and everything, so I still got that, but I still have bits and pieces up here, although I don't have my main webcam that I usually am talking to. So I'm actually talking to you on my phone camera, but through Loom, which is crazy. Well, it's not that crazy, I guess. It's just a feature of the Mac ecosystem. Your computer can tap into your phone's camera and just use that in addition to the camera on the laptop, but I found that this camera is much better than my laptop camera, even though I have a newer MacBook Air, but it just seems like it kind of sucks. So it is a smaller camera, I guess, than what's on the iPhone. So in any case, that's where you got me today, and my trusty older phone, or older microphone here. I also don't have my keyboard and mouse, because I left those downstairs, so I'm having to reach way over here to get on my Mac and monitor in the middle. Anyway, it's a little bit of a mess, but it works, and so that's fine. All right, so let me explain a little bit of, I guess, where my headspace is today. I know yesterday was a little bit Debbie Downer, just reconsidering everything, whether or not I even wanted to progress down the path I was already on, or maybe just switch gears to doing something else entirely. And I more or less, laid out the reasons why I do have some hesitation, I guess, in going down that path. And I didn't really get into, some other options I have considered, a little bit. But basically they're more focused around two things. Either one being something music related, just because I do have many years experience playing musical instruments of various types. Not that I'm really, definitely wouldn't consider myself a professional musician, but I haven't paid to play music, and I've played music at a lot of different places over the years, and played in bands and clubs and bars and coffee shops and everything in between. Some bigger events NBA basketball game. Did once many years ago. So I thought, oh, maybe I could start a business, something in that realm. And because, one reason being, at least because, people wanting to learn how to play a musical instrument always seems to be a pretty strong market. But again, the problem, as I kind of mentioned yesterday with some of those markets, is, teaching music online is a well-established field, I guess you could say, because, there's tons of big companies and apps and, online courses on various platforms that you can go and buy. And plus, if you just, search for tutorial videos on YouTube, of course, you got tons of YouTube videos. And you see that a lot of those videos, have like multi-millions of views on them, implying that, lots of people just prefer to kind of learn without paying for anything. They just learn on their own. And I think that's great. That's certainly what I have done in many areas. And so then you say, well, then what's the business model there? Well, I think if you have a very successful YouTube channel, then, you can certainly make a ton of money just based on ad revenue from that channel. And even if you try to, and then you can probably get like sponsorship deals thrown in there. So those are always pretty sizable. Tens of thousands of dollars, I think, is not uncommon. So you could certainly make a lot of money doing that. And, that certainly is very appealing, because you could just build a channel and, again, then make your revenue be off the advertisements, which are just controlled by YouTube. Like, you don't have to do anything. You just say, yes, please advertise on my video, and they just start sending you money for your share of that ad revenue. And then the sponsorship deals, I don't really know exactly how that works, but I assume probably once you get to a certain number of subscribers or views or whatever, I'm sure companies find you and start offering you to talk about their products and paying you a little bit in doing that. So the point being there, you're making your money off of things. You're not really having to do anything the thing you're doing is making videos, and sure, throw a advertisement in for somebody else's product on occasion. So you're not dealing with customers. You have no customers, really. You don't have to no commitments in terms of what you're fulfilling on your product, because your only commitment is just like you want to keep an active channel so you stay relevant in the bigger picture of things. And as long as you're doing that, like that's your business. So that sounds like a pretty sweet gig, but of course is also why lots of people do that, and why you need to be if that's what you want to do, then it's like, then you have to really understand the whole YouTube game very well. You need to have nicely produced videos that are really engaging, I guess, and really keeping people watching your videos and etc. And so obviously it's not as though that's a business model that is low amount of time involved. Because it could be, I think, a lot of time involved. Of course, then, if you start making money, then you can just hire video editors and stuff like that, and all you have to do is really record the content and let them make it all look pretty, I guess. But starting out, it could certainly be a lot of work, and no guarantees that no guarantees on when you'll get significant views and get your subscriber count up, which of course is really what matters. And even like having 1,000, just having 1,000 subscribers, I think, is the minimum you need even to start monetizing your videos on YouTube. And I could tell you from another channel that I've had for several years now, which does have about 10,000 subscribers, close to 10,000 subscribers, and I mean, collectively across all the videos, I mean, I don't know, 1 million or 2, I forget, views in total. And now that's not an active channel I'm really doing anything with, and I haven't done anything with it for like 7 years or something, but so conceivably if I kept up with that, I might be in a better shape. But regardless, getting point being, with 10,000 subscribers, I mean, on that channel I'm only making probably $100 a year. So I mean, again, to be very successful, you need to be getting like hundreds of thousands of subscribers and like regularly getting hundreds of thousands of views on your videos, again, to be making real money. So that's not an easy feat, of course. So that was kind of one option, figuring out something to do in the music space. The second option was going back to sort of my time spent teaching, which is actually what that other YouTube channel is about, is teaching a basic circuits course that I taught at a university. And the intention of creating those videos back at that time was simply to have extra, video material for my own students in my own classes to be able to reference as they were working on their homework and whatnot. But surprisingly, several of them ended up becoming relatively popular. And I mean, even today, even though I've not done anything with those since I taught that course, which was again like 7 years ago, even today I still get regular comments on there, people, saying, oh, this is very helpful, whatever. And even back then, that wasn't something I put a ton of effort into doing. I mean, I did use a video recording studio that the university had available. So they had, nice camera and sound, and they did look, pretty decent, but not, no slick editing. And again, compared to things you can watch nowadays from like the Khan Academy and various other platforms that are teaching even very technical subjects, I mean, they have, in my opinion, much better produced material these days that you could probably find. But again, for some reason, people still find my videos and still seem to enjoy them. So I thought, well, maybe it's worth kind of digging back into that and again, trying to set up a business around teaching maybe basic electrical engineering stuff. I don't know. And there's certainly things I like about that more compared to, again, what I'm currently planning to do. But the downside there is, I mean, similar to the music thing, I think it would potentially be a much longer runway before I'd really be able to capitalize that on that significantly, just because if I were going to do it, I would want to do it, I don't know how to say it, like in a way that I thought was, again, we're going to be providing real significant value over and above anything you could really find out there on the internets today. And again, that would not really be an easy feat to do. And it's not just from a production standpoint, like how I would do the videos and whatever. Would it be recording me writing on a whiteboard, or would I use a digital notepad or something to be working through problems or something like that? But then also just from the how to present the material in a way that would be more easily understandable than maybe the way other people do it, and easier than even the way I used to do it in some of those older videos. And so doing that would just require me, number one, to become a lot more comfortable with the material, which, not to say I'm not comfortable with that material since it is my educational background, but you know how it is. I mean, stuff you learn in the books and whatever is not really what you end up doing in the real world. So, but in order to teach things that are out of a book, you need to understand those principles very well and be able to explain them. But on the plus side of all that, it's like if I were able to get a business started and making money, the side benefit is that I personally would be developing my own skill set, again, by having to learn those principles in depth. And even there's other like channels about what was called like Smarter Every Day, where it's, you know, a guy that I think is an engineer, but just started making videos a long time ago of, you know, showing real world kind of technical things to a very broad generic audience. So trying to explain technical concepts in a very clear manner so that, again, just the average Joe could watch a video and learn something new about whatever. How does a rocket work, or how do pulleys work? I mean, he covers a wide variety of things, not just engineering things, but any basic science principles he talks about. And I know there are other channels that do the same thing, kind of explain even stuff maybe people are seeing in the news about something technical, and tries to explain it in a way that's more easily understandable by a broader audience, which that is also like very intriguing to me because, again, I do think there are just so many misconceptions around various high-tech topics that, of course, your generic media news people they don't really understand, and all they really care about is getting headlines that attract attention through fear or whatever, and so they'll spin a topic to whatever suits whatever their needs are, without really explaining anything. So I think that could also be certainly a very interesting route to go down. And again, really kind of all those options that I've discussed are all really targeting much more massive audiences, which again is kind of the struggle I have of, like, you know, people say you want to niche down to a small audience, but then, you know, as Russell Brunson says, you don't want to go after an audience that's like not interested or just not buying or just is unappealing or whatever, like engineers. And so then that leads you to believe, okay, well then that means I need to go after a bigger audience, because if you're going after a bigger audience, then inevitably you're going to have some portion of that larger audience that is interested in whatever you're trying to do. And you should be able to convince some of those folks out of a much larger pool to come over to check out what you're doing. I don't know. So, but at the end of the day, I guess I just decided that, again, I've already set up a bit of an infrastructure to do this whole PhD boss, PhD secrets business, providing some career advice to my fellow PhD peoples, purely based on my own experiences over the past 10 years of doing this, and still doing this. And really, again, going back to the fact that all I'm looking to sell initially is a newsletter, a print newsletter. And this is actually something interestingly I heard. I was only out and about for a short time this evening, but did hear, again, another podcast from Russell, and this one he mentioned a guy that, or I guess he was answering a question about what would he do if he were, you know, more or less kind of give everything he had and start from scratch. And he was saying, well, I would probably just prefer to do something much more simplistic, like some dude he mentioned that all he does is sell a print newsletter, and he just, you know, does his marketing well, and you know, does a daily email newsletter that people can just, sign up for free, where he just tells like quick stories every day. And then ultimately he's just driving people to sign up for his print newsletter, which he sells for like $97 a month, I think. And that's his entire business. That's all he does. And so Russell was just saying, like, so he probably only spends, whatever, an hour a day writing his daily emails, and 5 or 10 hours a month doing the newsletter thing, and like that's it. And that's a very simple business model. But I mean, he didn't really explicitly know like specific revenue numbers, but he was just saying like this is something this guy's been doing for like 7 or 8 years now, and he knows that he's been very financially successful, so it seems to be working for him. And again, that's where I kind of go back to, as I've mentioned on previous episodes of this, that even what I was thinking of doing is just a $47 newsletter, and where if I were able to get 1,000 people to sign up for this $47 a month newsletter, that's $47,000 a month, which is like, I don't know, $500,000 a year, or a little over that. So I mean, if that was the only business I did, and I was making $500,000 a year on something that I only really needed to spend, whatever, 10 or 15 hours a month, like actually working on, then I mean that's I guess the dream, right? So I started, I stopped trying to just overanalyze the thing and just said, look, I just need to stick with the plans I've got, put in the time, get things completed with regards to the sales funnel, and start getting some of the social media content stuff put together, and the podcast going, and all that fun stuff. And so that's what I got back to working on today. And I don't want to spend a ton of time here, but just to show you, I was playing around with DaVinci Resolve, learning more about how to use that. So that was actually fun. I do like playing around with all this video editing and audio editing type of stuff. I find that pretty interesting. But all of that to come up with a new video outro, which you can't hear, but you can see as shown here. So this is something that I'll again tack on the end of the podcast videos. And this video, what I'm talking about here, is just telling people, hey, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And also to go to my newsletter funnel website to get more information on that. So again, driving all the traffic, driving to the newsletter, keep it simple. And that's that. I also tweaked the intro here. Similar, as I think I've shown before, but PhD Secrets Podcast, I recorded that, but that's not the right one. Is it? PhD Secrets intro. Okay, this is it. The movie, yeah. That was only part of it. Okay, so boom, here, just recorded this video. It's part of a short, again, intro clip video, whatever, to the podcast. So I got those two pieces. So with those, I can already go ahead and take the 2 episodes of the podcast that I have recorded and start to edit those down. Again, I got the 2 camera views, and then I have those intros and outros, so I can piece all that together now to get complete episodes. And then, like I said up front, I wanted to have a single episode that's more of an introduction, episode number 1. This is what this whole thing's about, blah, 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 and go from there. So with that, it's about 1 o'clock, after 1 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to go to bed now. So hope you're all doing well. Keep on kicking ass, taking names, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.